Conflict in relationships is inevitable, but sometimes it reaches a point where communication completely breaks down, leaving both parties feeling lost and desperate. Jimmy and Jackie, both highly educated professionals, found themselves in such a situation. Despite their career achievements and intellectual capabilities, they were unable to resolve the emotional turbulence within their personal relationship. Arguments became routine, and emotional wounds ran deep, eroding the connection they once shared. What had once been a supportive partnership transformed into a cycle of relentless misunderstandings, blame, and defensiveness. The tension between them grew, and every conversation seemed to trigger new arguments, deepening the divide. It was as though all the knowledge they had gained professionally was irrelevant when it came to managing their personal struggles. No amount of logic could penetrate the emotional walls they had built, and the disconnect between them grew more profound with each passing day. Eventually, Jimmy reached his breaking point. Overwhelmed by the constant conflict and emotional exhaustion, he made the drastic decision to leave. He packed his bags and moved to another town, hoping that distance would bring him the peace he longed for. He thought that the physical separation might provide clarity, or at least some relief from the endless cycle of tension. However, rather than finding peace, the distance only seemed to magnify the unresolved issues between them. Meanwhile, Jackie stayed behind, grappling with her own feelings of abandonment, betrayal, and confusion. For months, they remained physically apart, but emotionally entangled in the unresolved turmoil of their relationship. Both turned to me as a witness to their struggles, each eager to share their side of the story. What became immediately apparent was their deep investment in blaming one another. Jimmy, filled with resentment, often recounted how Jackie never listened, how she always had to be right, and how he felt unappreciated. His bitterness was evident, but so was his pain. He was emotionally drained from the constant tension. On the other hand, Jackie, equally frustrated, spoke of her disbelief at Jimmy's decision to walk out. "He left without even trying to fix things," she'd say, her voice trembling with hurt. To Jackie, his departure felt like an abandonment, and she struggled with the idea that he had left her to bear the weight of the relationship on her own. Both Jimmy and Jackie felt misunderstood, each believing they were the victim in the situation. As I listened to them over the months, it became clear that neither Jimmy nor Jackie could see beyond their own pain. Both were locked in their respective narratives, focused solely on what the other had done wrong, rather than reflecting on their own contributions to the conflict. Their conversations were filled with accusations and defensiveness, each refusing to take responsibility for their actions or emotions. They were both convinced that the other person was the root cause of their problems, perpetuating a cycle of blame that only deepened their emotional divide. This went on for months, and as someone who cared for both of them, it was exhausting to witness. The constant back and forth, the relentless blame shifting, and the emotional toll of their unresolved conflict weighed heavily on me. Despite my attempts to guide them, neither was ready to look inward. They remained focused on externalizing the problem, on what the other had done wrong, while completely ignoring the deeper internal struggles that fueled their pain. It became increasingly painful to watch. I could see the potential for healing if only they could step back and reflect on their own emotional wounds. But they were too consumed by their grievances to take that step. The more they blamed each other, the more entrenched they became in their positions, making any hope of reconciliation seem further out of reach. Jimmy had hoped that physical distance would bring clarity, but in reality, it only exacerbated their emotional disconnection. Both remained trapped in their own versions of the story, replaying the same arguments in their minds and reinforcing their belief that the other person was at fault. What they couldn't see was that their relationship was a mirror, reflecting back their own unresolved emotions, fears, and insecurities. Until they were willing to face themselves and look inward, the cycle of blame and hurt would continue, no matter how far apart they lived. What follows is my final note to Jimmy and Jackie, a heartfelt reminder of the importance of introspection, self-awareness, and open communication as they move forward. My hope is that these words may also serve as a guide for others facing similar struggles, helping them to find a path toward healing and reconciliation. Hey, Jimmy and Jackie, this will be my final reminder to you both. I hope these words guide you toward a deeper understanding and resolution of your conflicts. 1. Problems cannot be solved at the level they are created. We often create problems based on limited perspectives, rooted in fears, insecurities, and old patterns of thinking. When we try to solve them from the same emotional or mental level where they arose, it is not only ineffective but also impossible. To truly resolve conflicts, you must rise above the level of thinking that created them. This requires a shift in awareness, the ability to see beyond blame and defensiveness. If this shift does not happen, the problems will remain unresolved, no matter how much effort you put in. Eventually, this can lead to frustration, despair, and even tragic actions when it feels like there's no way out. Anxiety and depression feed on unresolved conflict, so it's crucial to elevate your approach if you hope to resolve the situation. 2. Relationships are mirrors reflecting each other's inadequacies. Every relationship has the potential to act as a mirror, reflecting back to you the parts of yourself that you may not want to see. Your fears, insecurities, anger, and unresolved wounds. This is the beauty and challenge of being in a relationship. Instead of seeing these reflections as opportunities for growth and healing, most people blame their partner or external circumstances for their internal struggles. Blame shifting only deepens the divide and prevents healing. The real issue lies in the unresolved conflicts within yourself, and until you face them, no amount of blaming will work. The healing must begin from within. 3. You have both been unaware of this truth, blaming each other and others for your inner conflicts. Jimmy and Jackie, both of you have fallen into the pattern of pointing fingers at each other or at those around you, hoping that external solutions would fix your internal turmoil. This has only led to more frustration and pain, to the point where you both considered taking the most desperate and irreversible action, ending your own lives. Your relationship issues are not just about the two of you. They reflect deeper, unresolved conflicts within yourselves that you must confront. There is no external solution for these internal problems. You need to look inward. 4. Jimmy, Jackie is your mirror. Jimmy, recognize that Jackie reflects your deepest fears, unaddressed anger, feelings of resentment, inferiority, dependency, and insecurity. The conflicts you experience with her are not accidental. They are invitations for you to explore these unresolved parts of yourself. What frustrates you about Jackie often mirrors something unresolved within you. If you can see her as a mirror, not an adversary, you can use this as a powerful opportunity for self-awareness and healing. 5. Jackie, Jimmy is your mirror. Jackie, understand that Jimmy reflects your own inner fears, anger, feelings of inadequacy, insecurity, and dependency. The conflicts you face with him are not meant to drive you apart, but to bring attention to the parts of yourself that need healing. Instead of blaming Jimmy, recognize that this is your opportunity to confront and heal your inner struggles. Only by looking inward can you begin to resolve the conflict between you two. 6. Face your inadequacies without judgment. Both of you need to take the time for deep introspection. Look at the inadequacies being reflected back at you, but face them with compassion, not judgment. Everyone has wounds, fears, and unresolved pain. It's part of being human. The key is to acknowledge these parts of yourself, sit with them, and begin to heal. Blaming each other or others will only trap you in the same cycle of conflict. The first step to breaking free is to look within. 7. Overcome your inner turmoil by going through this process. If you are both willing to undergo this process of self-reflection and healing, you will overcome the inner turmoil that has weighed heavily on your relationship. This journey will take you through stages of realization, understanding what is really happening inside. Repentance, acknowledging the harm done to yourselves and each other. Forgiveness, releasing the past and letting go of blame. Reconciliation, finding common ground and renewing your connection. And finally, celebration, reaching a place of inner peace and harmony within yourselves and with each other. This journey won't be easy, but it is the only true path to healing. 8. When future issues arise, take a break and communicate. Going forward, if either of you experiences conflict or disagreement, give yourselves time to cool off. Take no more than a couple of days to reflect, then come back together and communicate openly. Discuss the issues with the intention to resolve them, not to escalate them. If you still cannot find a resolution, consider seeing a counselor, therapist, or psychiatrist. Avoid involving third parties unless absolutely necessary. If you do, make sure I don't hear about it. Outside opinions can complicate things further, so handle your issues internally as much as possible. 9. I provided you with a path to resolve conflict. In this note, along with the video titled The End of Suffering, I've outlined a way forward, one that involves rising above the level of the problem, looking within, and addressing conflicts from a place of higher understanding. If you choose not to follow this guidance, I'd prefer not to hear about any further conflicts. However, if you have any questions or need clarification on the process I've described, don't hesitate to reach out to me. 10. Be grateful. Begin each day with gratitude and close each day in the same spirit. No matter the challenges or outcomes, be thankful for each other, for your family, and for everyone in your life. Gratitude brings peace and perspective, helping you appreciate the journey and the people who walk it with you.
A few months have passed. These reflections were meant to guide Jimmy and Jackie beyond the surface level issues in their relationship and help them discover a deeper understanding of themselves. The conflicts they experienced weren't just external struggles. They were windows into the unresolved emotions, fears, and wounds each of them carried. By recognizing their relationship as a mirror, Jimmy and Jackie began to realize that their arguments weren't really about their disagreements. Instead, they reflected much deeper personal struggles within themselves. The real work went far beyond resolving arguments or finding common ground on specific issues. It required deep introspection, an honest and compassionate look at their own inner worlds. Both Jimmy and Jackie began to confront the fears, insecurities, and unresolved emotions that had been fueling their conflicts. This kind of self-reflection wasn't easy. It took both courage and vulnerability as they faced parts of themselves they had long avoided. Yet, it was only through this inner work that they could achieve true healing, both individually and together. For Jimmy, this meant recognizing that his anger, resentment, and frustrations with Jackie often reflected his own unresolved issues, feelings of inadequacy, dependency, and past wounds that had never fully healed. Instead of continuing to project these emotions onto Jackie, he turned inward and asked himself, what is this conflict really showing me about myself? What wounds or fears are being triggered here? By facing these emotions directly, he began the process of healing. For Jackie, the process was very similar. She realized that her frustrations with Jimmy weren't just about his words or actions, but reflections of her own unresolved fears and insecurities. She had long felt inadequate and afraid of vulnerability, and these feelings were mirrored back to her through their conflicts. Like Jimmy, Jackie turned inward, confronting these feelings without judgment and allowing herself the space to heal. As both Jimmy and Jackie embraced this introspective process, they started approaching their relationship with greater self-awareness and emotional maturity. The conflicts that once seemed overwhelming no longer held the same power because they began to understand that these struggles weren't only about their partner, they were about the unresolved parts of themselves. As they healed these inner wounds, their relationship naturally began to shift. Instead of reacting from a place of pain or fear, they could communicate with greater clarity, compassion, and understanding. This deeper level of healing and self-awareness ultimately brought peace and resolution to their relationship. No longer did they see each other as adversaries in conflict. Instead, they became partners on a shared journey of growth and healing. Their relationship transformed into a space of mutual support and understanding, where both of them could face their inner struggles together, helping each other grow and evolve along the way. In the end, the resolution of their conflicts didn't come from trying to fix the other person. It came from healing themselves. When they shifted their focus from blaming one another to looking inward and addressing their own inner wounds, many of the struggles they once faced naturally dissolved. They moved from a place of conflict and division to one of connection, compassion, and oneness. Though this process of introspection and healing wasn't easy, it was the only true path to lasting peace, both within themselves and in their relationship. This process of healing through introspection isn't just for couples. It applies to any relationship, whether it's between a parent and child, siblings, friends, colleagues, or even neighbors. In any connection where conflict arises, the journey of looking inward and addressing one's own wounds can lead to a deeper understanding, resolution, and a renewed sense of harmony.